Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Wendy. Nice to see you. My screen, the bottom disappeared for a minute, so I can't see who else might be here. So welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, J.E. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Now my screen is back. Hi, Faye. I hope everything is well with all of you. Thank you. Hi, Gary. Yeah, I can't really see who all's here, so yes, welcome to our daily live stream series for the week, where I'll be going live every day. Hi, Lisa Nanda. Today's topic I'm super excited about. And it came, I've done lives on this before, and it came because of a live we had the other day. The work came up. So, yeah. Welcome, Kay. Britt, hello. So yes, if you are new to me, I see many familiar, beautiful faces and energies. If you are new, please say hello if you would like. I didn't get a chance to use, I'm like obsessed with my little Envision oil right now. Plus the bottle's almost gone. So, hi Angela. Yeah, that's Angela. I don't have my glasses. So I'm gonna use this, and it's almost gone, so I don't want it all to come out. But if y'all have an essential oil, there might just be one drop left. So do as I did. You drop it in, and then you activate it. And then you smell it. And be very present and mindful as you breathe in the oil. And this one is Envision, so it's about third eye, awakening, visioning, dreaming, possibility into form. It's got lavender and spruce or pine, something like that. So after I smell it, I usually put it on these points. And you can do whatever you wish. So this is your invitation, if you have an oil around, to use that. Hi, Elena. So, if you are new to me, I'm Natalie. I'm a spiritual life coach and Reiki Master Teacher. You can find out more about me on my profile here. There's a link you can click on. You can find me everywhere, Natalie Speakman. Natalie M. Speakman in some places. Because believe it or not, there's a couple Natalie Speakmans in the world. Like, that boggles my mind, because my name is not common, but out of the 8 billion or whatever, there's a handful of Natalie Speakmans. And even my married last name, Elam, there's some Natalie Elams. But, does anybody else have like a not super common name and have found others that have the name and felt the way that I felt? I searched my name one time, and there's like a British person that's actually, and they're like some sort of speaker or influencer of some kind. It's a couple. Somebody told me about it. So anyway, very interesting, the world we live in. Hi, Mishi. So, based on the live we had the other day, and just because it's amazing, and I bring this up often, we're going to be talking about Byron Katie and the work today. Hi, Lady Peacock. Wendy, you have somebody with your name as well. So the way this live is going to work is we're going to just dive into and talk about what is the work, who's Byron Katie, how can it help you, and then, if conversation unfolds in the comments where people have things that are topics that come up that they want to do the work around, you can just share whatever, and it'll unfold naturally. And I may coach you on doing the work in the comments. So, also, if you care to hit the donation button, donate here through Insight Timer. If you donate through the live, 30% goes to Apple. If you donate just on my regular screen, then 100% goes to the teacher. So, whatever you choose, if you choose. And if you follow me, you'll be notified of future lives, and we've got a schedule. It's every day at this time this week. So, I know some of you I have actually done the work with one-on-one. And so I know you've experienced the power of it. Is there anybody else here who has done the Byron Katie work, like facilitated with somebody else? Or has anybody here just done it on their own? Or who all doesn't know what I'm talking about? It's all welcome, all fine. Powerful, Britt. Yes. I definitely agree. Very powerful. Wendy, many years ago. Angela, on your own. Elena, on your own. Lorraine, awesome. You're new to it. I'm so excited. So doing it on your own can be helpful, and also doing it with somebody else can be much more powerful, especially if you've never been facilitated with it at all. And what's cool is you can go to thework.com, and they actually have like a helpline, a work helpline. And there's like people that man lines, I think 24/7, if you want to do the work on something. It's free, so that's pretty awesome. So to do it facilitated with somebody else, it just offers a much deeper perspective, and especially if the person is a facilitator trained, or like me, I've done it a lot, so I have experience. Awesome, Lorraine, you printed everything. So there's a couple resources. If this is interesting to you, you can go to thework.com, or you can message me, either way. I can share there's 2 resources. One is called the little booklet. One is called the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. So great. So before we get into those details, let's talk about what am I talking about? Who is this person and what is this work? Great. Thank you, Lady Peacock. So Byron Katie is a woman with an interesting name. Speaking of interesting names, she just, had a normal life, if you will. She did deal with addictions herself, and codependency, and just, common human things. She went to a halfway house maybe 30 or 40 years ago. A halfway house is a place for people that are just trying to get like off of their addictions. She went to this halfway house, and I'm just keeping the story very simple, but basically she had a moment of awakening and of enlightenment just spontaneously out of nowhere, to where she had this experience of that she was not herself as she thought herself to be. She wasn't identified with, Byron Katie or the ego. She, had this experience of separating from that illusion and being at one with all that is. And that was what we call an abiding awakening. That's, I think it's been like permanent. So she had this life-altering awakening moment, and for a few years she was in her own world, and she just was in the world but not of the world. And she actually had to be like, her family had to kind of make sure she ate and made sure where she went, because she was just in this bliss, enlightenment state, which here in India, where I'm living right now, that's a little more common than in the US. So, hi Karen. So you've read, the most famous book by Byron Katie is called Loving What Is. So I would recommend that if this is all interesting to you. So anyway, that's the beginning of Byron Katie's experience. Over the years, she started just, people would come and talk to her about their problems, and just this all unfolded over time, a long time ago now, in the 80s. So there's a process that she created, developed, she was inspired by other things. But she created this process called the work. And basically, it's a simple process that helps anybody get free from suffering based on your thoughts. So really, our only problem is that we believe our thinking. If we get really simple, and when our thinking is not loving, when our thinking is out of alignment with what is in reality, we suffer. When we believe our thoughts, we suffer. Can anyone besides me relate to that? Hi, Jalyn. So this work process helps free us from the suffering of being identified with our thinking. Definitely, Sandra, Gary. So where we will start, and this is where she starts, is with what she calls a judge your neighbor worksheet. So judgments really too are at the root of suffering as well. When we have a layer of judgment in between us and reality, we're making up stories about something. Usually it's not positive and pleasant, and it's based on past conditioning and fear and all of that. So we create suffering by believing our judgments. So the judge your neighbor worksheet is about judging your neighbor. It's not about judging the self. So we heal ourselves through judging another and doing the work around that. Hi, Rochelle. Welcome. Glad you're here. So if you want to do this, you can do it right now. You can go to thework.com. It's got a download button in the top corner. Download a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. If you are just listening, that's fine too. However you're finding this, it's all good. So I'm just going to take you through this process. So what you want to think about is something you can handle looking at right now, which is a judgment on somebody or something else. She also has an app too. It's like $2. It's called The Work. So you can buy and download this app, and it will take you through the questions on the worksheet. And so you can do that on the go, which is nice. So you want to think about something in your life that's a problem, that's a stress, that's, an issue for you, a situation, a person. And if anybody, like I said before, if you want to share what that is, in whatever way you feel comfortable, or not at all, that's fine. But you basically, and I'm going to pull up the worksheet myself. In the little booklet that I told you also to download gives a detail, it's not long, but it gives a detailed instruction on doing the work and on doing the worksheet. So let me just pull this up. So I have there's also instructions you can download. I'm going to download the worksheet. And I'm going to look at the instructions. So, and I'm reading from the instruction sheet, which I can share with you or you can get on the download section. Do you really want to know the truth? Doing a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet and use the 4 questions that we're going to go over. So the first question on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet is, it says, think of a stressful situation with someone. For example, an argument. As you meditate on that specific time and place and begin to feel what that felt like, fill in the blanks below, use short, simple sentences. So it's best that you use a specific situation because the specifics just work better than something general. So the first question is, with this stressful situation in mind, in this situation, who angers, confuses, hurts, saddens, or disappoints you, and why? In this situation, who angers, confuses, hurts, saddens, or disappoints you, and why? So Lorraine, what if it's not a person but an outcome? So what we want to get with this specifically, we want to tie it to a stressful situation with someone. So there's other ways to work with things and outcomes and things like that. I mean, I'm sure everybody here can think of somebody that's pissed them off, right? So, and if we were in a one-on-one conversation, I could work with you more on pulling out, the material to use the worksheet on. So, yeah, we want to judge our neighbor here because this is what, if you're in a judgment, it's causing stress, right? So in the example on the sheet, Byron Katie wrote, I'm angry with Paul because he lied to me. So if you look at the booklet, if you read Loving What Is, she goes into the situation, but basically the situation that she uses as this example is her husband had said he quit smoking. She went into the kitchen and she smelled cigarette smoke or saw him lighting a cigarette or something. Or she could see there was evidence and then she's like, are you smoking? And he's like, no. And he lied, is what she perceived. So she wrote, I'm angry with Paul because he lied to me. So the next question is, in this situation, how do you want them to change and what do you want them to do? So this is really fun for the ego because it's called a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. So you get to get down and dirty on writing out all the hurts and judgments and pain that other somebody else has caused you. But the work comes at the end after you do this process. So you would say, so in her example, she wrote, I want Paul to see that he's wrong. I want him to stop lying to me. It is a bit like an inventory, Lorraine, in the 4th step of the 12 steps, and Byron Katie is actually in the program as well. She's quite open about that. The third question is, in this situation, what advice would you give them? He or she should or shouldn't. In her example, Paul shouldn't frighten me with his behavior. He should take a deep breath. So I'm just going through these examples so you can get a sense of what we're working with here. Hi, Sheila. Jeff, harder to think of those who haven't stressed you. Sherry, hi, thank you. That's a great question. So if you're willing to look at it, if you're willing to be open to see another perspective, you can do this Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, and you can handle looking at it. You can do this on any situation. If you search on YouTube, Byron Katie has recordings where she has done the work with people who have had their kids murdered to, horrible crimes and rapes and murders and Holocaust victims and accident. Just anything you can think of. She has done the work with people, and it applies and helps people get free from everything. So I know that the situation that you bring up, which there's a lot of energy there, and I can imagine that, is very painful, that if you're willing, it's possible for you to be free from the judgment there. So that would be one. If you're willing to do the work, you can do the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. I would definitely have somebody help facilitate the process with you. So if you're on your own, the questions I'm telling you right now, you can write all that down by yourself. But then at the bottom of the page, when you actually do the work, that's where it's really helpful to have somebody else to help facilitate that part, because that's where the freedom comes. We all know the stories. So thank you for bringing that in. Hi, Anna. In the worksheet, there's one example that I'm telling you about Byron Katie's, her husband lying to her about smoking cigarettes, right? So that is actually in this worksheet, and that's what I'm reading. So there is that one example. You can watch the YouTubes, and she has topics on everything. She does call-in shows, and people call in and do the work, and so she'll write out, whatever topic. I'm glad to hear that you want to do this, Sherry, for your own sanity. And I know that she has done the work around your specific situation, because she's done it for 40 years with many people. So you could try even searching if you want to see how she does it. Byron Katie, the work, like assisted suicide or something, however you want to word the subject. Yeah. And my heart goes out to you with that situation. So the next question on the worksheet, number 5, what do you think of them in this situation? Make a list. It's okay to be petty and judgmental. So the example with Paul lying. Paul is a liar, arrogant, loud, and dishonest, and unconscious. I need to plug in my computer. So the next question, what is it about this person and situation that you don't ever want to experience again? So these are really powerful. So her example, I don't ever want Paul to lie to me again. I don't ever want to be disrespected again. So what I just read is the judge your neighbor part of the worksheet. And that's the easy stuff, right? Awesome, Anna. So when I do that, like I've actually facilitated in my life coaching, you know, sometimes I'll invite a client to be like, do a judge your neighbor worksheet around that and bring it to our next session, and we will dive deep into it. Sometimes in my coaching, I'll just do it spontaneously if I see something coming up. And I usually keep it as simple as like, let's see, I had a client the other day who was upset with their employee because they didn't pay their rent and they were not communicating. And so, you know, I invited her to do the work around my employee should communicate with me and should pay the rent. Right? So you can even just take it as simple as that. Blank, should or shouldn't blank. And then you can challenge that thought. Is it true? So if you are looking at the worksheet, and even if you're not, it's fine. At the bottom of the page, the work actually begins with 4 questions. The first question is, so on the worksheet it says you question each of the statements. So all of the things in the example I gave about Paul, you use the 4 questions of the work. So the first question is it true? So we go back with this Paul example. Paul lied to me. Is it true? So whatever it is, like with my client with the employee, is it true that she should pay her rent? Is it true that she should text you back or text her back? So you want to feel into this, and this is a meditation, and you want to go into not what you think you know, like know the answer should be, but what you really feel it. If you're like, yeah, she should freaking text me back, then that's okay. There's no right or wrong. So is the thought true? Paul lied to me. The second question, can you absolutely know that it's true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? So think about this with whatever, I know you all have a situation in mind. So whatever your situation is, can you absolutely know that the thought is true, that you're challenging? In this example, Paul lied to me. And question 2 is a yes or no answer without explanations. So this is where, when you facilitate, when you do this with somebody else who's walking you through it, it's a meditation. So whatever the situation is, you want to go back to like a specific moment in time. So like for my client, I'm just making it up, but it could be something around, oh, the rent's due, looking in the bank account, it's not there. And then the feelings and the judgments and the thoughts and the stories in that moment. So you want to go back to that moment in time when you're thinking the judgment and the thought. So the first question is Is the thought true? Second question, can I absolutely know that it's true? And this is something too you can play with in your day-to-day life. If you notice you come awake in a moment, like you wake up from the dream of thought and you're like, notice you're pissed off at something. Oh, is this thought true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? In an absolute sense, we really can't know anything as true. Absolutely. The third question is, how do you react and what happens when you believe that thought? So the thought, Paul lied to me. If somebody's lied to you and you believe that thought, how does that feel in your body? How do you react? What do you feel inside? What do you do? What do you think? That asshole, like, oh, they're always a liar. People always lie to me. You might feel frustrated, angry, sad. So when you believe that thought, how do you react? And you sit with that as, you know, a moment of meditation and really feel into it. So if you get the app, the WORK app, or if you're doing a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, if you're being facilitated, they'll help you through this. How do you react and what happens when you believe that thought? The fourth and last question, who or what would you be without the thought? Who or what would you be without the thought? So in the Paul lied to me example, and what Byron Katie says is like I said, you want to go into a specific situation as specific as possible. Yes, Anna, there is an app called The Work. Hi, Kim. And it's kind of you all to support Sherry and what they shared, and thank you, Sherry, for sharing what you did. So, like I said, this part is a meditative process. So you want to consider the judgment. Paul lied to me. Is that thought true? Feel into it. You know, when Byron Katie, she's like, she comes into the kitchen is the scene in her example. So what you imagine is you're coming into that scene, whatever it is for you. You notice what happens, how do you react when you believe the thought? And you see all the reaction, all the suffering. Then the fourth question, who or what would you be without the thought? So then you imagine going into that situation. You imagine that your brain is not capable of thinking that thought. Like Katie says, it's like, okay, pretend you have an eraser. You're erasing your brain's ability to think that in the moment. You're showing up in the scene. Yes. Even if you know that it's true. It's not a good, bad, right, wrong context, Lorraine. Great question. You imagine you're there. You're not able to think the thought, Paul lied to me. Who or what would you be without that thought in that moment? And you feel into that as a meditative experience. I'm really going deeply into this. Once you have this facilitated with you or do it yourself a number of times, then this is something you can just take into your day-to-day life, like all the time in a snap of a finger. Somebody pulls out in front of you, and you have a response, you have a reaction. Oh, what is the thought? They shouldn't have pulled out in front of me. Is that thought true? You can just go straight to the questions. Is it true they shouldn't have pulled out in front of me? No. Or maybe yes, they shouldn't have. Can you absolutely know that it's true? Well, no, absolutely, I can't. What happens? How do you react when you believe the thought, they shouldn't pull out in front of me? I feel angry. I feel impatient. I feel rage or anger or heat in my body, and then I'm pissed off. Who would you be without the thought? Okay, sitting in traffic, somebody pulls out in front of you. You're not able to even conjure the thought in your mind. Who would you be? At peace. Oh, interesting. A car went in front of me. It would be peace. And it's something that you want to feel into. Hey, Ginger. So is that helpful so far? Do you have a good sense of what this is about and how it can be applied and how it can help you in like a practical application? And Anna, yes, it's just the work would be the name of the app, and you can put BYRON Katie. You should be able to find it. Karen. So I will invite you to another way to phrase that, which I love the idea, needing to be consistent. You get to be consistent. Who would you need to be consistent with doing the work? I guarantee you, if whoever of you, if you take this on and you really do this, it will create so much freedom for you. Need to is very disempowering. Get to is very empowering. That's the distinction. So the second part of the work is what's called the turnarounds. So the turnarounds, and this is what, if you're new to it, this is what can be tricky. And so I would definitely suggest doing this with somebody else or watching a number of her videos. So you want to take that original judgment. You know, Paul lied to me. Paul shouldn't have lied to me. And you want to create 3 turnarounds to the original statement. So you want to go back to the situation you're in. And for some of you, like, it may be like the example I gave of my client who, like, was not happy that their employee didn't pay the rent for their space and wasn't being communicative in text, right? So the moment in time there would be some moment where you're noticing time has passed and you haven't gotten a response, or you know, maybe you're receiving a text that pisses you off and you're looking at the screen. So that would be the moment in time you pick. So the turnarounds, and we'll use the Paul example because that's the one we've been using mostly, about Paul lied to me. So you want to flip this statement around. You want to visualize the situation, contemplate how each turnaround statement is as true or truer than the original statement. So if the statement is Paul lied to me, a turnaround would be I lied to me. I lied to me. And then you go into that moment and you imagine I lied to me. So where in that scene, in that moment, was I lying to myself? Another turnaround for this one could be, instead of Paul lied to me, I lied to Paul. You go into that moment. Where was I lying to Paul? And you look for the statement that's as true or truer than the original one. So you want to find at least 3 turnarounds if you can. Another turnaround would be, Paul didn't lie to me. So imagining you're in there in that scene and Paul didn't lie to you, then how would that feel? And then a 4th one it gives is, Paul told me the truth. So I'm going over this just to give you an overview and a taste of how this can help you, with the understanding that this is just like touching the surface, so you have a context to go deeper in if it's interesting to you. Yeah, so Lorraine says, some harms done are life altering, and trying to understand how this applies to all. So yeah, I mean, this is it's a big topic that takes some open-mindedness and some willingness to be open to the concepts. And it's just, if it's your first time hearing these sorts of things, to just be like, okay, I'm curious. Maybe there's something helpful for me here. Because it really does go into challenging at the deepest level, like everything about the world and about suffering and about harms and wrongs. So it goes very deep. And in this short, very, basic intro live stream, we're just scratching the surface. So it's great that you're considering it. Hi, Natalie. Awesome, you're here. So what we're talking about here can definitely help you if you're ready to let go and not look back and face things. You can definitely do Judge Your Neighbor worksheets on whatever those things are. So Anna, the alternate question, I don't know what that is. There's 4 questions with the work. Is the thought true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? How do you react when you believe the thought? And who are you without the thought? Sure, Lorraine, I get that. So This is where if we were in conversation, I'd be able to, learn a bit more, share a bit more. I think, too, it comes down to, like I said, willingness and open-mindedness as well. So, yeah. Yeah, great question. Karen. It doesn't, what can happen is that you looking at these turnarounds and challenging that original belief can create a shift in your perspective about the situation, which will create freedom from suffering. Because really the only problem here is our perception and our judgment about the experience. The turnaround questions, yes. Thanks, Anna. Sure, I can repeat that. So, and again, if you get this worksheet, you can see, and that's great to do. So the turnarounds are, turning the thoughts around and then picking the one that's true or truer. So the original example, Paul lied to me. The turnarounds would be, I lied to me. I lied to Paul. Paul didn't lie to me. Paul told me the truth. Yeah, I mean, really anything that's happened in the past, we can't do anything about, Karen. So acceptance is, I mean, in AA, where I got sober 25 years ago, as most of you know, one of the most famous lines in our book, Alcoholics Anonymous, comes from one of the stories. Acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me, and I can have no peace until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it was meant to be in that moment. So that's perfect for everything we're talking about here, because basically it's a non-acceptance of what is. The name of her book, Loving What Is. One of my favorite Byron Katie quotes is, when I argue with reality, I lose, but only 100% of the time. When we argue with reality, when we judge situations, when we judge people as good, bad, right, and wrong, we suffer. Yeah, great thought, Natalie. So, this isn't for everybody, because it challenges the foundation of how we see the world. And if you're ready for that, then this is for you. If you truly want to be free from suffering. Sometimes people, I mean, if you want to get really simple about it, would rather be right than be happy. Anna, my favorite quote, when we argue with reality, we lose, but only 100% of the time. Michael Singer, another one of my faves. talks about that, like, we cannot do anything about anything that's happened before this second has passed. I can't take back the words I said 5 seconds ago. So whatever has happened is. So my power lies in my choice in how I see those situations. She also says, reality is my God, because it is. So, these aren't the easiest thoughts and ideas to work with. And also, if you're open to them, they can create freedom and peace. Because, we live, most of us, and I am definitely on the list, we live just going around judging things as good, bad, right, and wrong. And even conversations with God, which we will do another book study this week on, it talks about this too. We cannot judge. We don't know. We have such a limited perspective. Right now I'm in India. There is a lot of poverty here. There's a lot of ugliness here, in nature and trash and very, very poor people. And, conversations with God, and also Seat of the Soul talks about it's great to have empathy and compassion, but not judgment, because we don't know why a person is in whatever state they're in. It's a mystery of existence. So the question comes back to, how free do you want to be? And do you want to be free? And if you do, that means being willing to release the stories that are causing suffering, no matter how compelling they are. And this work challenges that. So, if there's been some, really difficult situation and you've never done this before, like, that might not be the easiest place to start. That's why I gave the example of, like, somebody pulling out in front of you on the road. As Michael Singer would say, it's low-hanging fruit. So start with those things. And also, if this is in any way interesting to you, and I would invite you to the idea, if you're hearing this message right now, it's because you're ready to hear it. There's some part of your soul and spirit that is guiding you here. All the forces of, as Michael Singer says, 13.8 billion years has taken this moment to get here right now for you to hear me saying these words. So pay attention. Even if there's parts of you that resist it, don't like it, judge it, maybe are pissed off or hate it or whatever, that's okay. But my invitation to you is, if you have a lot of energy around it, there's something here for you. Are you open to the message of the gifts of this message? Do you want to be free? She's done this work with Holocaust survivors. Is it true that, Hitler shouldn't have had the concentration camp or whatever? Like, she goes deep. So there's nothing that she has not applied this to. and people have found freedom. Even, I mean, just search online. You can find thousands probably of videos with all different scenarios of work she does. There's one somebody shared with me that was really powerful. It was around racism in like Texas. Yeah, it was a black woman that she was doing the work with, and it was a really powerful one. If that is interesting to anyone, send me a private message here through Insight Timer. I'll do my best to find that. I think I know where I can. And don't forget to follow me too if you haven't already. Give a donation if you'd like. Check out my meditations here. Give them a listen. Join my group, Natalie's Healing Circle. Hi, Sophia. Yeah, so earlier in the session, I don't know if you were here, but basically I talked about the ways that you can do this work. And I did suggest, if you're new to it, that you definitely get help being facilitated. You know, I do offer that, and also on the work.com. There is a place where you can, people have like there's a work helpline, and you can call that and do the work. You fill out the worksheet and you call, and they walk you through it. And yeah, like I said earlier, sometimes I'll give my coaching clients like, hey, do a worksheet on this, and we'll go over it. Or I might just bring in the elements of it into the coaching conversation. And you can do it alone. Like, it's better to start with the stuff that doesn't have huge charge. Like I said, somebody pulling out in front of you. But that's a great question. So before we close, this week I'm offering a special on gifting my truth excavation journey one-on-one session with me, depending on availability and, you know, how many people utilize this. I'm offering it until I'm full. But if you never had a session with me and you'd like to, I'm offering my Truth Excavation Guided Journey. So it's basically a meditative space, and we, you know, go into that together, and then I ask you questions, and you allow your deeper sense of knowing, your soul, your higher self, to give you the answers to help you dive deeper into what truths are ready to be revealed for you that can create transformations and change in your life. So send me a message if that's interesting to you. Great. Yeah, and it's first come, first served, and I'm discerning how many of these I'm offering. So if you feel the heart's call, reach out, don't hesitate. I will be back again live tomorrow at this time. Does anyone have any questions, comments? I'm just checking my schedule. Oh, awesome, Lorraine. You were nervous. You're more nervous. I love you sharing your honesty there. Nothing wrong with nervous. Oh yeah, so tomorrow I'm in India. So for some of you, I'm already in your tomorrow. For me, Valentine's Day, which is 24 hours from now, we're going to be doing, so the next live stream in 24 hours is going to be a self-love day. So this is going to be fun and nurturing and loving and expansive. So join in that. For some of you that are in the Western Hemisphere, it will be your pre-Valentine's self-love, coming into Valentine's. For some of you, it will be on the day. Yes, Sophia. So you can easily find me everywhere, like in the internet. And also you can find me just, if you click on me here and you go into my profile, there's a place where you can message teacher, you can send me a private message. I also have a group, Natalie's Healing Circle here. You can join that. So, yeah. I kind of want to draw a card to close. I'm going to draw Work Your Light. Was it only yesterday, or was it 2 days ago we had the card Boundaries? Yeah, because yesterday it was Transformation. But this Work Your Light deck, I like its messages. So I feel like, maybe some of you, this is really pushing up against some stuff, which is great. It's awesome. To challenge your thinking, challenge your beliefs. If you're suffering, this is a way to freedom. So trust. Ooh, nice. Let your inner child take you on a date. And actually here where I'm at, there's an inner child cafe. So your message is, don't dim to fit in. Don't dim to fit in. How are you dimming your light in order to fit in? How are you dimming your light in order to fit in? The more we own who we are, all of our flaws, all of our perfect imperfections, all of the things we love and maybe not love about ourselves, the more we can come into loving acceptance, the more brightly we shine. So you can look this up online if you want to read the deeper message. Just search Work Your Light. Don't dim to fit in. And that's definitely for some of you. Karen, would I rather be right than happy? The injustice of others' failings is tough. Yeah. It is. It is. And that's what I was saying earlier, that when we judge things as good, bad, right, and wrong, we suffer. I mean, it's very common. And also, if you're hearing this, then it's an idea that you're ready to hear. I mean, everybody's not ready to hear that or consider it or contemplate it. And, there's a number of texts, Conversations with God, Seat of the Soul. I know Eckhart Tolle, he loves Byron Katie. He talks about her as well. Yes, Work Your Light, thank you. We don't have the whole story, and we don't have the bigger picture in order to make judgments. And if you come up against this, I can totally appreciate it. Please join in the Conversations with God live series, because we've just gone over this. Yeah. mean, the answer here is yes. We don't know the whole story. We only have a limited view. So what I would invite you, if you're, and thank you guys, both of y'all, for voicing this, because you're the only, others are thinking it, you're saying it, so thank you. And I have it too. I'm here to share what I've learned and gathered. And just offer it. It's not easy. How free do you want to be? Yeah. And I'm sorry to hear, if something's tearing you up inside. And I mean, it's not easy to go here to these places. But if you want to keep your suffering and keep your story, that's fine. Just know you're the one creating the suffering within yourself. If you want to continue that, you can. If you want to be open to the possibility that there's something else here, yeah. Well, give yourself a break, Lorraine, because if this is like newer ideas, it's a big pill to swallow. So just let it sit. I would get the book Loving What Is. I would get the little booklet, which is free, which you said you got. So just trust that this is here for some reason. Yeah, J.E., and even, these bigger social injustices, I mean, even that still can be applied. The idea that we cannot judge anything, we don't have the whole story, even can apply there. So what I would invite you to do, I mean, I'm not Byron Katie. I would search and look at her topics and dive deeper into this. And it's great. Yeah. It's hard not to judge, and also it's possible. I screenshotted from the book Loving What Is by Byron Katie like years ago now, and they're in my favorites, and I'm going to bring these up because I feel like it before we go, and then I'm going to go. Some of my where is it? Some of my favorite Byron Katie quotes from her book Loving What Is. Everyone is a mirror image of yourself, your own thinking coming back at you. If I had a prayer, it would be this: God, spare me from the desire for love, approval, or appreciation. Amen. Reality is always kinder than the stories we tell about it. No one can hurt me. That's my job. The one I already said, when I argue with reality, I lose, but only 100% of the time. Nothing outside you can ever give you what you're looking for. And the last one, everything happens for me, not to me. So, I will see you all tomorrow, and loving you all, loving Insight Timer, loving myself as we go into loving day. And we're going to come into self-care, love day. So I will see you then. Much love. Bye-bye.